Hello, good morning. I just turned on the mic just to see if you guys can hear me. Welcome to the chat room, welcome to the live stream. Let us know how good the audio quality is right now, and we're gonna start streaming in about 5 minutes. Hello, hello. Let us know that you can hear me. Thanks. Turning off the mic.
Okay. So I'm talking because Sven didn't turn on my mic. So please tell me if you can listen to me fine, if you can see me okay, and we will be started this thing as soon as possible. Just loading the live stream in my phone, see if it works.
hello, welcome. How's it going? Let us know if you can hear us. I'm here today with Dennis again, and we're here for office hour number 2. Dennis, how are you?
Good. Is my mic on? Yeah.
Yeah, your mic is
Yeah.
on.
So I'm good, Sven. Happy to be here again. The last time we had good times here with everybody. So excited to see what can come up out of this new live stream.
Nicely said, nicely said. In the background, we also have Morgan. Morgan is running the chat room. Morgan, say hi.
Hi.
She is with me for the next few weeks here, helping out and maybe shadowing me as I'm at it. Morgan, how many days have you been here so far, and how it's going? How is it going?
Yeah, I've been here for a week now, and it's been great. Like really good experience. Yeah, and like working with Sven is obviously like super
It's awesome.
interesting. It's awesome.
Good stuff. Let us know in the chat room if you can hear Morgan. She's a little bit further away from the mic, so that's kind of an audio test to see. But she's going to be running the chat room. If you have any questions, she'll be there. She's going to throw some questions back to us for the discussion, all that kind of stuff. I can see we have like 16 people so far in the chat room.
Wow.
And I thought at the beginning, I'm just gonna again like give a state of the union in terms of how the course is going. So the Go-to-Editor course, it's been live now for 3 months, I would say. It's
Wow.
generation 1, and we're really excited about how it's going. If you're in the Discord group, you'll probably get a sense that there are quite a lot of people submitting scenes, having active discussions about editing, career, those scenes, other stuff in their life, and it's really fun to see that there's a community there. So I'm really grateful that this Discord exists and that that you guys are embracing it. And let me see if this works as well. Oh, full screen. Here we go. This is how I look this morning. This is how Morgan looks. And so I'm really excited about this. And this is just one step of what we want to do to make sure that you take full advantage of this course. The goal really for us is not just for you to sign up and then do the course at your own leisure. We want to encourage you to do it together with us, with other students, and to take advantage of like the different modules to grow to these steps. And I don't know if everybody's aware, but we introduced Bootcamp 1.0, where we asked students to submit their scenes that they've done so far, like 2 scenes from the modules, any scenes, and then they can submit to an actual director who has an independent feature that he's looking in editor for. And 25 people of you submitted, which is awesome, and we picked 10 of those to now move on to the next round, and they got dailies. They got to cut a scene from the actual feature from Harper, the director, and his feature is called Painted. And they're sort of now in the middle of that and have like another week and a half before they submit those scenes. And then Harper and I will look at those scenes and we'll pick a couple editors to interview with him based on how well they did, and then hopefully he's going to hire one of you to cut the scene, and that involves payment and all that. So this is an editing course that has a real world application, and that's really everything we're doing here. We're trying to figure out a way how to make this like real as opposed to just school, and that's one way. What I also want to do in the next few weeks is, as we're preparing to relaunch the course towards the end of the year, is I would like to invite a couple of you to have a personal Skype call with me. And we're going to spend like a half hour discussing your progress in the course, your career, how things are going. And I really want to find out if there's maybe something that we haven't thought about yet. If there are certain things that we can do to really help you on that journey. Because some people, like, they're super active and they're very engaged and they just embrace the course full on, but there might be some people that need a little bit more encouragement, or there's something else that could be added to the course without bloating up the course. So if you're interested, let me know in the chat room. We'll definitely take note of that, and I'm going to pick like students that are super active. We kind of can track who's watching how far you are in the course through the platform. So I want to pick a couple of people that are super engaged and a couple of people that haven't really, maybe they're like 10% in. They've seen like 3 videos and stopped. And I want to find out how we can make your experience better and what some potential ideas is we can bring to generation 2. So that'll happen. We'll also introduce a survey where we ask like just a few questions of like which is the module you like the most or which is the module that sucks the most, so that we get like a little bit of an idea. And then finally, we just started adding certificates to the course. So if you actually complete the course and like I said, the platform itself is tracking every time you watch a video if you complete a lesson. So if you complete the course, you will get a certificate. That right now is kind of just a trial. If you get one of those, I've seen one student so far has gotten a certificate. Actually send me a copy because I can't tell what it looks like. I mean, I sort of designed something, but I don't have the way to actually see the final certificate. Send me a copy of that, and then we're going to start tweaking it. And ultimately, I want this certificate to not just be participation, but I want to find a way how you can submit your scenes and we can do a little assessment and make this certificate actually mean something more than you just showed up, which is important. Showing up is important. So that's the state of the union. Dennis, I'm going to ask you, you have a better sense of the Discord group and the students talking, the conversations. In your view, how are things going? What's the vibe in the Discord?
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say how awesome is everything that you just mentioned. All these added value for the students, including me. The Skype calls, maybe people are wondering, maybe it was clear, but just in case there are doubts, it's for free, right? These two that you will pick,
Yeah,
this is for
yeah,
free.
yeah.
Even better. Right. So, and yeah, and the survey, some people have said in the chat that they're very interested in helping. So it's very cool. And the certificates, I know some people have been asking about it. Remember Dmitry Dimi, he has been asking about it. So I think
Right.
he's going to be pretty happy about it. About the chat room, what is module 2? Module 2, obviously, less people have jumped into that module because it's, you know, the let's say the level of difficulty and the amount of time and energy you need to spend on it rises. But I've seen a lot of participation. Of course, we have like 400 students, right? And the people have submitted scenes for this. It's only about 20 or something like that. It's understandable because of everything I said. And we have very good scenes to review. And people have also submitted the scenes for the other scene, which is the flashback of Thomas and Eva, and for the medley, which is even better. So I hope, hopefully, in a future stream, we'll be also looking at that. But it's good. I mean, everybody's participating. A lot of people are giving feedback, which is great. People don't wait and see if they will receive feedback. A lot from from somebody in the team, like from us. People are actually giving feedback. A lot of people are giving a lot of feedback, which is great. And I really encourage everybody who submits, don't stop there. Submit your scene and immediately look for other scenes from other people and give your feedback. Some people just want to receive, but it's also good to give feedback back.
Yeah, it actually helps you to train your expert watching, to look at scenes and try to analyze them. And I mean, do that once you've cut your version of the scene, and that will actually help you judge those scenes from a different point of view because you are very familiar with the footage yourself, and being able to pay attention of what's working, what's not working in somebody else's scene really builds that muscle, that storytelling muscle as well. I want to ask one more time in the chat room, when Dennis is talking, is his audio clean? Because I see my mic for some reason is picking him up as well, so you might get a double up there, which is not good. So let me know if Dennis, his audio is sounding good. And
I think it's okay because somebody's mentioned something in the chat room, which is a reply to what I said. So yeah, it's good.
Okay, awesome. Maybe I'll turn down my headphones a little bit more.
Meanwhile, you can say hi to the unicorn of my daughter. which is in the back.
Very cool. So Morgan, in the chat room, did any people have any comments, any questions so far?
There was a question about what were the criteria for you picking people for the bootcamp,
Yes.
like the 10, and also what will it be for the finalists. So there's a
Well, the number one criteria is your work needs to be outstanding. So, and thank you for the question. This is a good question. Who asked the question? Do you have a
it
name?
was from Sam Lawrence.
Okay, great. Sam? All right. So, the way that I did, the first thing that I did, and Harper and I had a different process, possibly. We didn't talk about our process, but we matched up our notes about the students. What I did is I really paid attention to your personal statement as well, because I wanted to see how you communicate to the client that you are interested in this job. And that that first question that I asked you to answer is kind of representing that email top sheet that you're sending out to a producer or whatever. And it's really, when I look at hiring somebody, the email will decide whether I even gonna look at the reel or the resume. So that top sheet really needs to excite me, needs to give me some clues on why you are a potential candidate that really I should consider. Now, in this case, we only had 25 people, so we looked at every scene, we looked at all the additional information, resume, and like scenes that you cut outside or a reel that you submitted. And even though I made it optional, or I said it's recommended, it actually did play a big factor. Like if you didn't submit a resume or some other piece of work, I made a note of that. It doesn't disqualify you, but it is something where, like, if somebody's doing the little extra, it gives you a little bit extra bonus points. And then sort of the overall picture needs to make sense, and then ultimately sort of, do I see that you handled these scenes in a way that I can trust you to cut a feature. Like, I feel good about recommending to Harper, yeah, give this a try with this specific editor. I think I had one student who's like, can you give me a piece of feedback, just one thing? And I noticed that the way that he was presenting his presentation, everything was sort of bringing him across as a filmmaker and not an editor. So his first statement was more like he came across as being an equal to the filmmaker, like a partner. And that might sound like something good, but I think it can be also very intimidating to a director who's looking for an editor to help him execute his or her vision. So it did have an influence when we did not pick. It wasn't a major influence. Ultimately, it came down to the scene in that specific thing. And I just didn't feel like the scene in itself was strong enough. But it did play a factor. And there were a lot of students in there that really like found something very specific that they talked about there. And specificity, something specific, is really, really important, that it doesn't sound generic. Something that's also important is that you don't come from a position of how this is going to benefit you to like, this is a really exciting opportunity for me. I hope I'm going to grow a lot in this experience doing this feature. I mean, that's great, but for a director, I don't really necessarily want you to be growing. I want to hire somebody that already has growth, and that's going to benefit my film. So communicate it the other way around. Talk about how you can add value to the project, how you have a very specific point of view on this particular story because of your background or whatever, like you know somebody, or you've been through experience, or you like something very specific about this type of storytelling, coming of age, drama, whatever it is. But it needs something really specific. It doesn't, whenever it sounds generic, it's a little dangerous. Hope I answered that question. Any other comments or questions?
Yes, there's one from Spriglet, which
Yeah.
is isn't the assignment on module 2 like more of a medley thing rather than just like two things?
Okay. It is two scenes that you're cutting, and the first step is, and I always say this, cut the scenes on their own merit. So don't start thinking of it as part of the bigger picture yet. Don't even start thinking about the footage as part of the bigger picture yet. Look at each take, each performance on its own, and see if you feel something, and take note of that. Then once you know what are your gold moments are, the ones where you felt something, you're like, no, this has to be somewhere, I have to make the scene about this moment. Then start building the scene. Then you're really utilizing the footage to cut the scene. The footage is speaking to you, as opposed to you're trying to figure out what the movie is, or what the script is, or the original intention is. It's good to make a faithful version of the scene based on the script and what you know, but that could, for me, I do that version second. The first version that I usually cut is the one where the footage, the performance, whatever happens in the moment is dictating how I'm going to cut the scene, because that's gonna like create interesting ideas that I might not think about, that make this really special and not formulaic. It makes it interesting because you're building it around a close-up or a reaction or a misstep, something like this. So cut each scene on its own. Once you've done that and you take the scene from module 1, so you have 3 scenes, then you connect them. Then you try to find a way how you're going to tell the story through those 3 scenes, which might require you to recut, make certain scenes longer or shorter, or you have to completely recut them. But I think it's a step-by-step process where you want to make sure you tell the best story possible. Dennis, any words of wisdom on that?
No, makes sense. For me, it's also like making something bigger. Like I don't know if the analogy is fine, but it's like building, making a building. You can't start by doing the whole thing. You need to do it by parts, right? So like the first floor, the second floor, the third floor, something like that. Mm-hmm. Not the whole thing, but little by little, focusing on one part, and then you see how you will put them all together in one piece.
Cool.
That's how I see it. Yeah.
All right. Is there one more question, and then we'll move on to module 2?
There is one question from Dimitri,
yes,
who is asking if there is going to be other boot camps and opportunities like that.
Yes, there will be. I mean, I kind of have to see what comes through the door. So I'm going to pitch this idea to other directors when they approach me, based on 2 criteria. A, I like the project, and B, I don't want to cut it myself for whatever reason. It could be money, could be time, but I can't do every feature that comes, especially when it comes through this guy edits. But I really liked Harper's project. Like, I felt something. Like, he showed me the opening of the film, and I knew there were problems, but I felt something, and I immediately felt like there's a story here. So when I then sort of pitched the idea to him because he was kind of we really wanted me to work with me. Is there like, can I wait? Can you do it later? Can you give me a number that you would cut this? And I said there's no way that based on the budget and everything that would justify me cutting the scene. But I liked it. I hope at some point I'll be in a position where I can do a project like this, but right now I can't. And so then I introduced him to the idea of this course, and then I see a couple of really star students emerging that are doing really interesting work. And if he would be open to the idea to go through this process and potentially find somebody that works for this project, because it is a small indie feature and it's a great opportunity on both ends. And he was like, yes, that sounds like an awesome idea. And hopefully I'll find a couple more directors that go through this process, especially if Harper decides to hire one of you guys. But there are also some other bootcamp opportunities that I'm exploring right now. One, for example, is with a brand that is working with a lot of directors, sort of in the commercial music video world, but these directors have aspirations in features and do shorts on the side. And I want to bring this brand into the course because they supply footage and that we can use in the course, and also sort of create some form of marketplace or challenge where these directors get to meet some of the editors in the course and hopefully work on project. They have like these, they call it like mood mood projects where they cut like from the stuff that they shot, just like interesting little 2 minute pieces that then they take to other brands to sort of commission. And so they're looking for editors like this. So like a brand could use this to demo their software, or they can put it up in their showroom to demonstrate a new TV that came out or something like this. They're always looking for these mood pieces, and they can sometimes really have interesting stories as well. So hopefully soon we can do Bootcamp 2.0 with a brand, and if there's another director that's coming through the door, I'll definitely introduce them to this concept, and hopefully they'll bite. Cool.
Awesome.
All right, we're gonna move on to module 2. We are 20 minutes into office hour, so this is a good time. Before we get started and look at some scenes, I want to do some generic notes on module 2. So there are 2 scenes that you're cutting. Module 2 is all about storytelling. And the way that the whole course is designed, like, we're not giving you every lesson, every possible way how to do things. We're saying, okay, here are 2 scenes. Start cutting. While you're cutting, look at all these video lessons about what's drama, what is not a scene. Like sharing information between 2 characters is most of the time not a scene. It's a meeting. It's boring. So how can you infuse drama in scenes? We talk about audience engagement, which has to do with making sure the audience is not ahead of the story. They are slightly behind, and they're always asking what's happening next. What's next is the most important question you can raise in an audience member. If they're like, I don't care what happens next, then that's a problem. Or if you confuse them, if they're frustrated and they're like, I don't even want to figure this out because it's so confusing, that's not good for audience engagement. So these are the lessons that are part of module 2, and then you can apply them in the scene. In the first scene, and the scene we're going to be talking about today, is the bedroom scene where Mark and Naja are doing this little back and forth game that they're playing. And this is a tricky scene to cut. And I've seen probably 500, 700 versions of it, because it was part of the Epic Editing Challenge a year ago, where we had like 7,000 people download the footage and got hundreds and hundreds of submissions. And most of them are just too long and too boring, and there is not a dynamic shift in that scene. That scene has like quiet moments and fast moments, and then it gets quiet again, and there's a lot of improvised dialogue that doesn't need to be in there. You really have to focus on what's the scene about. Scene is about character A and character B, and character A wants to get it on. And she just wants to do her job and sort of manhandle this guy, make sure he's going to show up for his photo shoot the next day and be able to do the job for the client. And she's in this awkward position where he's trying to come onto her and trying to diplomatically wiggle her way out of this really bad situation. So there are many ways how you can cut the scene, and it's very appropriate to, like, that scene was shot before the Me Too movement happened, and you can have a completely new take on it based on how we feel today than a few years back. You can make this really dark and creepy, or you can make this really fun and not mean a whole lot in terms of you kind of have to really decide how dark you want to go with that scene. But you can't just play it straight. If you play it straight, then the pacing and the dynamic range is gonna, like, that scene, it doesn't sustain 3 minutes of going at the same pace. Possibly it doesn't even sustain playing the same piece of music through 3 minutes, because the audience is going to get so ahead of what's going on. They know immediately what this guy wants, what's going there, and the question really is, how is she going to get out of this situation and be okay? So this is my generic note on this. Dennis, what's your take on all the scenes that you've seen before we look at some specifics?
Yeah, well, it's like you said, some people like to use the whole footage, and it ends up being very, very long, and in the middle it gets a bit boring. Like, you want to, like, okay, go move ahead because I want to see what's happening, right? I'm not interested in this, so it tends to be long. sometimes there are many audio issues, not many, but audio issues that could be better. Like we will talk about it probably, but it's something we talked about in the first stream, in the first live stream, that if you're going to submit something for feedback and you know that it has audio problems, that's the first thing people are going to notice probably. So it's better to present something good, or as good as you can do it, so people can focus on the story and not on the technical issues.
Totally. To present it as if you're presenting it to the director, and you cannot assume that a director understands a rough cut. I don't understand a rough cut. Like, I watch something that kind of looks polished, I assume it's done, it's finished. Only if it's really, really rough, then I understand it's a rough cut and it needs more work. But if you show something that's kind of okay, but it has some audio problems, it just immediately makes me worried about the scene. And I give notes on stuff that I shouldn't even be giving notes on, because I'm trying to fix things that are not story related. I just noticed Martin made an interesting comment. He says an awesome challenge would be a no dialogue scene, and try to invoke an emotion like the winner of that challenge. Oh, you actually, I was going to say the winner of the challenge, the epic editing challenge, cut out all the dialogue. It was all about looks and made it about that moment, the core moment, what the scene really is about, that subtext. And that's one of the reasons why we picked that particular scene. I'm not saying that's how you need to cut that scene. Like, I didn't cut that scene that way. If you ever look at the original movie, I cut that scene super fast, and there's a lot of changes, dynamic changes. It starts off with a Moby track, I think, at the beginning, and based on that, it has a certain beat when they're playing. And I think once they start playing the game, I cut the music out completely, which is good. Dynamic range. Like, you need to have highs and lows. You need to have music, no music. That emphasizes when you have no music. That makes the silence even more powerful. Okay, cool. So, Dennis, you picked a couple of scenes. We're going to look at what we call a good example and a bad example. We'll do that like 2 times, and then we'll look at some stuff in the Discord. So, which is the first one we're going to look at?
Yeah, I just sent you one on the chat.
That's the one you sent me earlier, right?
Actually, yes, it's the same. This one is a good one, in my opinion. And it was actually the first one that it was submitted in the whole room, in the whole history of the course.
Good, awesome. So we're going to watch the scene. This has an interesting aspect ratio, so that's why it's not full screen right now. But you sort of cut off these parts, the bottom and the top. But once we get past that scene, all the others will cover the screen. So here we go. I'm going to play the scene.
Oh, Dad, you can't do that.
That's the crossover.
The crossover?
Yeah, it's the crossover. See?
What the? Okay, it's my turn.
All right.
This is serious business now. Boxers or briefs? Ah, gotcha.
Boxers.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Gotcha.
Motherfucker.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Peanut butter, smooth or crunchy?
Crunchy. Fuck. Ah! You were way too good for me.
Come on, Thomas.
You know what? You can call me Tomahawk.
Look, I think you're very cute.
Oh, you do?
But
That's great. But cute is not the word that I would use to describe you.
I have a boyfriend. And if I'm not mistaken, you have
A wife.
Yeah.
Right, that's true. That's very true. But there are other options. Yeah, we could pretend that didn't exist.
Let's not.
Really?
Yeah.
Not even a little kiss?
If you want, you can go downstairs later and I can promise you a lot of potential kisses. I mean, the models for tomorrow's shoot, they're gonna be there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the scene feels good. Why did you pick that scene, Dennis?
Two reasons. First, because it was the first one, and second, I don't know. I really like it. Many things. The one thing about this scene is that I usually didn't like any scene that started with this guy smoking. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but it didn't add anything to me, to the story. But the way this guy Levi or Levi, I don't know how it's pronounced, made it in a way that this first part of the smoking mixed with the slapping game, the music, I don't know, it kind of helped me. It was,
Good
it was
music.
kind of, yeah, it was kind of romantic. I don't know, because it's like if Thomas put this music in the room, you know, to set up some environment with Nadja, and gives such a feeling of flirting, right?
Yeah.
So, and it flows very naturally. There are good pauses along the scene. Like people take the actors take their moment to think about what to say and to react to what is happening with the other person.
Yeah, yeah.
It flowed very good to me.
Good. Yeah, no, it felt really good to me too. It didn't feel long at all. It's 2:32,
Yeah.
but that doesn't necessarily mean that's the perfect length of the scene. It could be boring as fuck, a 2:30-minute scene, if you cut it in a way that it doesn't have a flow, if it doesn't have a narrative arc. And this has a narrative arc to me, and that works. I really liked how the music is like really subtle in the background. It's the right choice of music and right way of mixing it in. You can sort of hear that it's in the room. It's got a little reverb in there, and it never competes with what is being said on camera. It just sort of creates a mood without being in my ears, and so I can focus. It focuses me in even more on what they're saying. That I like that. I was never a big fan of the tomahawk line. So if you see my version, I cut that out because it just felt weird to me. But here I feel like it sort of works. I mean, I don't mind it at all. I don't know if you necessarily need it, but I didn't mind it. There's a little bit of a transition problem when he goes from the tomahawk joke. You can hear her kind of chuckle, and she's moving her body in the over-the-shoulder shot, and then you cut back to her. Let me see if I can like show this actually. Let's see if I can get this.
Come on, Thomas.
You know what? You can call me Tomahawk.
Here we go. So now that cut back feels a
I
little
think you're
rough
very
to me.
cute.
Oh, you did?
Because the way that she's moving, my eyes are drawn to her in the other shot, and I'm picking up her energy. And then when we cut to this shot, she's all static and serious. So I would revisit that cut and make sure it feels like she's still in that moment, and then she gets serious. So she's still joyful, and then she turns and gets serious, if you have it in the performance. That's a little thing. I would also encourage you to think about when she says, I have a boyfriend, that she actually doesn't. That it's a defense, first line of defense, to say, I have a boyfriend. So that's like the first thing you could throw out when you're in a compromising situation, where I'm like, I would say, I'm married, and so don't come on to me. And I might not be married, but it could be something that I could throw out just to, or like casually mention in a conversation what my relationship is, so that I don't, it never becomes to that situation where somebody's maybe testing the waters. So keep that in mind when you're cutting the scene, that there might be some potential how you can create a subtext for her character, that it's kind of clear to the audience that she doesn't have a boyfriend, which could add more interest in audience engagement, like trying to figure out, she's playing certain strategies, will she succeed? That is something to consider. I love the scene, but I also would like to encourage you when she says, well, why don't you go downstairs and there are some other models they're potential kisses. She's kind of throwing these models under the bus, and there needs to be motivation to do that. Otherwise, it's kind of mean. She's like, well, you can assault those people. If you use that scene, make sure she really has a reason why that is. Like, she feels so pressured, so like cornered, that's the only way that she can think of to get out of the situation. If you can build the scene that way, then I think it justifies her using a line like this. If you just sort of throw it away, it weakens her character, and I think we want to really empathize with her situation. We want to care for her, so she needs to be heroic. So those are some notes. Dennis, you heard my notes. Do you have any feedback on my notes?
Great notes. I didn't
I was
think
hoping
about.
you would say that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a great point about this building this defense system from Nadja, because she is actually kind of the most interesting character in this part, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We know Thomas is going
our
to
scene.
behave bad. Yeah, we know he wants to behave bad, and generally people don't root for that. So we want to see how she's gonna react, because that's the dramatic questions, the dramatic question in this scene. Like, will she say yes or will she say no? Will they do it or not?
Yeah.
So when she throws that, yeah, it's kind of, that scene is finished, right? Like, I have a boyfriend, and he says maybe a little kiss, and she says no. Like, okay,
Yeah.
that's it. So it's good. Yeah.
Awesome, good stuff. I want to ask the chat room: how do you feel about the tomahawk line? Did you use it? What's the reason to put it in there? Because I couldn't figure it out. Dennis just ran away, so this is me in a full screen. So we're gonna move on to the next scene. That's also a good example. And before I find that scene, Morgan, any comments in the chat room about the scene and the notes that we've given so far?
There was one question from Sam Lawrence, but it's not related to this scene specifically, but it's about when there is a song that should be used, should you use it, or can you try something else, just like this person did?
I didn't understand the question.
Oh.
So the question is...
Like if, let me find the question. Like if there is a song that is given to you,
Yeah.
should you use only this song, or can you go look for different songs that might have a different rhythm or give another energy to the song?
Gotcha. So in the real world, the director gives you a song and says, I'll see this scene with this song. Definitely cut that version, because the director needs to see whatever she has in her head. So do that. And if for some reason you feel like the scene plays better without music, or plays with a different piece of music that you had in mind, show that second. Always show the director what she hopes is going to be the final product, so that they can see it executed. But if it doesn't work, you have to still show it to her, to him. I don't know why I keep saying her. To show it to them, the director, and it's a process. Editing is a process, and you need to get there. You can't assume that the director will be on board when you make these sort of big calls, specifically if the director asks for something. And so it's the same as show every line in a scene first to the director and then show them the scene the way that you think it works best. So hopefully that answers that question. I have the next scene up here. Dennis, you're back?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Alright, so the next scene, I already looked in your Google Doc, so this is a one scene, right?
Yeah.
Let's move this back up. Any setup for the scene? Why did you pick the scene?
No, let's watch it because I might mix up things. I don't want to look ridiculous talking.
Okay,
Sorry.
no worries. Here we go.
Oh, come on. Come on.
You know what? Actually, you can call me Tomahawk.
Ah.
Fuck.
Okay, it's my turn. This is serious business now.
All right.
This means war, buddy. Oh, okay. I see where this is going. Okay,
Okay.
bit of distraction.
Okay.
Ready? Coke or Pepsi?
Ah!
Dogs or cats?
Oh, shit.
Here, I got a good one.
Okay.
Boxers or briefs? Gotcha again!
Fuck, too fucking good for me.
Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I think you're very cute.
Oh, you do?
Um,
You know, cute? Cute is not the word that I would use to describe you.
I have a boyfriend.
Oh.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, you have
I have a wife. I do.
Yeah.
I do, but there are other options.
But let's not.
Really? Okay. Wait, just not even a little kiss?
No, I don't think that's such a good idea.
Wait, you're on my bed. Yeah, right. What time? Cool, great, yeah. Well, that was fun. You're really good at playing games. I mean that game. I mean the game that we just played.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome, very good. Dennis, your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I guess maybe you know what I'm gonna say first, right?
Yeah.
The tomahawk line
Yes.
is like a cheesy line, but here is used very wisely to direct the attention of Naya during the game. So overall, the scene, I like it that is focused on the first minute or so. It's very
Yeah.
focused on the game of hands. I don't know this game they're playing. Looks like a subtle game, kind of again like flirting.
Yeah.
I like that very much. I'm talking only in regards to the story, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe towards the end it seems a bit long because I mean it's 3 minutes and a half in something, but maybe it feels a bit long towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
And what else? What do you think about it?
Yeah, I like a lot of things about this scene. I think this gives the tomahawk line a reason to put it in. She uses as strategy to win him because without using some form of trick, she wasn't able to win, and now she did. So I thought it was awesome use. My criticism would be it feels a little bit like the audience is gonna get ahead at that moment because she's gonna deploy 3 or 4 different tricks to win the game. So it's like the tomahawk line, it's boxers or briefs, Coke or Pepsi, and then with something else. And so by the time we got to the last moment, I'm ahead of the story. I know I figured out what's happening. And so did he. So then you need to surprise the audience. Maybe he caught on to it and he won it back and that resolves this story turn there. Or you need to lose one of those beats and just get to him giving up faster so that that you don't have this lag in story flow. That would be my suggestion, but that's just a little thing. But these little things add up as you go through a movie. So like, if you like get the audience gets ahead for like just a few seconds in one scene and gets ahead a few seconds in another scene and another scene, it all builds up so that by the time you're at the end of the movie, you have a little bit more baggage that the audience has felt throughout the film. And it's harder for them to really have a full enjoyment. I
Nice
saw
note.
I saw a lot of things where she did like little micro gestures where she said like that
Yeah.
could actually be used to that thing where I talked about she's lying about her boyfriend. You could use these little micro gestures to build up this idea that she is lying. So even though Erwan didn't use that strategy here, these are little shots that I noticed that could be used if you were to pursue this idea. Um, and then the final thing is, but let's not. So he's asking her, look, we can just make out and nobody has to know. We can just be in the moment, which is like such a silly, dumb um, way to trick you into just going for it. I always liked when we don't know whether she's gonna go for it or not. So when I cut the scene, I cut out, and you only really know how she decided to pursue in the next scene. Keep that in mind. Like you don't have to resolve these scenes necessarily. Like this scene is resolved. He tried, he failed, they move on. That's a full resolution, which immediately means the audience is making a mental check mark. And they take a breath, and then you set up a new scene, and then you're gonna set up a question, and then you might resolve that question again. They make another mental check mark, and they move on. Every time the audience get a chance to take a breath, it's a chance for them to lose engagement in the film. Instead of that, keep the tension high. Cut out and let us not know how she decides. You're like, did she go for it? Did they make out? And then in the next scene, based on how they interact, you can figure it out. That's audience engagements. They have to figure out what happened next. But if you go that route, you're definitely losing this line at the end, which is a really strong line, which is where he says, you're really good at playing games. I mean, this game. And then Erwan puts another one on top and says, like, this game specifically, or whatever the next line is, which is a really clever, sort of on the nose way of saying that she played a game with him. Like, she lured him into his hotel room and he thought he's gonna get some, but no, he didn't. So she was playing a game. He's like putting the blame on her, which you might have to lose. But if you go all the way, that's a good way to end the scene there. But I feel like you shouldn't resolve the scene. You should keep the tension high. Overall,
Yep.
I thought this was a really nicely cut scene. I love how music comes in, drops out, goes back in. Felt a little like medieval to me, but still worked, and the flow was in general was really nice. All right. Any thoughts from the chat room, Morgan?
So, like, for the tomahawk line,
Yes.
most people didn't feel like putting it in because they thought it was kind of awkward and really didn't fit.
Right.
But like some people said that it, like Martin said that it made the rejection more crushing.
Mm-hmm.
So he thought it was good to use it.
Okay. Valid. Like it.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Go ahead.
Just like Sam Lawrence was asking if this scene wasn't like part of integrating it to the flashback scene.
Yes.
She thought that the assignment was about that.
It is. It definitely, like, by the time you move out of module 2, or if you finish, part of it is putting those 3 scenes together and figuring out a way how you're going to incorporate the flashback. So yes, you're right. But like I said, my recommendation would be, and don't ever do this because I say so, but do it because you agree. But my recommendation is cut the scenes independent from each other first, and that's sort of what we're talking about today. We're looking at the individual scene. And we might do another module 2 down the road, maybe in 2 months. I want to do module 3 next month because I feel like it's important to talk about career at this point of the course. But we can revisit, and we'll definitely look at the medley. We'll look at how scenes work together in a later module. Cool. So Dennis, now we
Great.
should look at like what you consider a bad example, and how dare you. Can you put me a link in the
Bye-bye.
chat room?
First of all, I don't consider any scene bad. From
Yeah.
everything that I've seen, I don't consider any scene bad. There are scenes that need work, maybe, or they have some issues that could be easily fixed. So just don't take anything personal or nothing. Just
Cool.
feedback is feedback.
Very nice.
So-
So go ahead, get me that link, and then I'll set it up in there. There we go.
Yeah. Plus, the first thing I should say is congrats, kudos to everybody who jumped to the module 2, because, like I said, only like 20 people decided to move ahead, and it requires a lot of things: courage and decisiveness. This is the word. To go ahead and
Yeah.
just to go ahead and continue editing whatever you have in your power in your hands. And for everybody who hasn't done it, come on, I mean, take out the time. I'm not the best example because I have only cut 2 scenes, but
What?
yeah, sorry.
No, it's all good.
You
It's a
give a lot of
self-paced course. You go at your own speed, but it is important if you are serious about your career as an editor to just edit. So whether you edit these scenes or something else, you should be editing pretty much every day. And that's what I do. I cut every day. I've like for the past 10 years or so, and it's not so because I make myself. It's like because I keep my muscle alive because it's just like going to the gym or whatever else you do that you're very disciplined about.
rep.
Yeah, drills. Okay, good. So anything specifically we should be looking at in this scene?
In this one, I took some notes. I had some, let's say, troubles with the beginning and with the end.
Okay, beginning
So
and
maybe we
end.
should, beginning and end. The middle part was okay, but the decisions taken at the beginning and the end, maybe I wasn't very fan of.
Okay, let's take
I
a
hope
look at
I'm saying
this.
the right thing. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna take a look.
Oh, Dad, you can't do that.
There's a crossover.
Okay, okay.
All right.
Oh, what?
Uh-huh.
Oh, come on, what was that?
That's
What?
called the crossover.
The crossover?
Yeah.
That is not in the rules.
No, that is in the rules. See?
What? Oh. Okay, it's my turn.
All right.
This is serious business now.
Bring it.
It's getting serious.
Okay.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Oh, okay. I see what's going on here. What? Oh, come on.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm I'm bringing out the weapons of
Okay.
mass distraction. You ready?
Ooh, all right.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi.
Gotcha.
Shit.
Okay, peanut butter. Smooth or crunchy?
Crunchy.
Oh,
Fuck.
gotcha.
Ah. You were way too good for me.
Oh, Thomas.
You know what?
What?
Actually, you can call me Tomahawk.
Oh. Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
Okay, Mr. Tomahawk.
Yeah.
Look, I think you're very cute.
Oh, you
but
do. But you know, cute. Cute is not the word that I would use to describe you.
I have a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What time is it happening downstairs?
In an hour, I could meet you down there, and yeah, I could introduce you to some of the models.
Cool, great, yeah. Well, that was fun. You're really good at playing games. I mean, that game.
Yeah. Love that game.
All right.
You're.
Sorry, I was on mute. Like I said sometime earlier, I'm not a very fan of the smoking scene because by itself, it doesn't move the scene forward or anything. It doesn't add anything to the story. And during the scene, I saw a lot of focus on Thomas.
Yeah.
And she was saying interesting things, like I'm taking out my weapons of mass distraction, and we were focusing on him. So she was saying, sometimes she was saying lines that I would appreciate maybe looking at her while she was saying it, because a lot of time it was just focusing on Thomas for like 10 seconds or something.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of playing back and forth with the camera would have helped maybe the scene flow a bit better, because it's like Thomas and Thomas. And like we said, maybe Nadia is the most interesting character in this scene.
Well, one could pick sides. One can decide it's the other character scene.
Yeah, it's not it's subjective, right? Everything's subjective. And towards the end, it was funny how easily he gave up. Like she said, "I have a boyfriend." And he said, "Okay, bye." I don't know if it's the right choice, just a choice. Maybe I would play a bit more with that, not giving up so easily. Mm-hmm. Because after that, there are like 10 seconds of just nothing. Or like saying, okay, let's meet downstairs and blah, blah, but it's not interesting anymore.
Yeah. I didn't mind that it resolved quickly, because the scene was sort of so, just like had one feel to it, one energy, that it was a little hard for me to watch. And I might be really biased because I've seen the scene so many times. So it's hard for me to feel anything in that scene anyway. But I think if you like on repeat watching, this is a hard scene to watch again. And it has to do with the fact that there's not a lot of dynamic range per se in there. Sometimes it's because you're not using music at parts. I'm not suggesting, like, you can cut a scene quiet without music, and you should cut a scene first without music most of the time to just make it work on its own, and then consider adding music for mood or emotional magnification, that kind of stuff, or contrast. Contrast is usually the best way to cut music into a scene. It's a very quiet scene, and it's a way, like, I had to crank up my audio to feel it. So make sure when you're cutting that you are following like general guidelines of what the levels should be. So keep your dialogue first of all consistent. All the levels need to kind of live in the same range, and that usually is -6 to -12 dB. Do you agree, Morgan? Is that sort of the good range for dialogue? So if your dialogue this sounded like it was -20 or so, it requires me to crank up, and I don't know how many of the viewers cranked up their audio at that moment, and then they had to crank it back down once we started talking. Keep that in mind. Consistent audio, -6 to -12 should be where the dialogue lives. And if you have music playing underneath, it should be, I tend to have it at -23. It depends a little bit on the music itself, that it doesn't compete too much with the dialogue. And then you can also like cut out certain frequencies in the music that directly interfere with the frequency of general dialogue, which is, I don't know, like in the low thousands range. Okay, so that would be that. I did not hate the scene. Like, I wasn't like completely bored. I thought the pacing was pretty good. I did pay attention. I was engaged throughout, and I thought the turns were pretty good. So I have to say that it's not a terrible scene by itself. But if you had to watch the scene a couple of times, I think you probably would have a hard time to stay engaged.
Sven, can you play Vimeo?
Can I play? Yeah, I should be able to play Vimeo.
Okay, here goes the next one.
Okay, let me put up the next one. Do you want to talk? Do you want to set it up a little bit?
I want to say something first. For everybody who is submitting on Vimeo, I think I'm saying right that when it's Vimeo on the Discord, it doesn't give you this option to play in the Discord group. So it involves like an extra step, and maybe you won't get as much feedback as if you would have submitted a link on YouTube, because YouTube loads automatically on the Discord group, right? So you can play it there, but Vimeo is like on another page, so people are lazy. So try to have your own YouTube channel and submit your cuts in YouTube, because I've seen that people who submit in Vimeo don't get as much feedback as the ones who submit from YouTube. For this scene, I'm checking my notes, and take a look at the end, because I don't want to spoil it, but the part that is chosen at the end may have worked in other circumstances, but for me in this one didn't work because it made no sense. Okay.
Good.
And there is also a bit long, so it has audio issues. So many things. I'm not saying it's bad, but it has some things to be looked at.
Okay, so pay attention to the ending, the audio, and what was the third thing? Whatever else you said. So we're still gonna play some scenes from your submissions in the Discord group as well. So we're gonna go a little bit longer, but we want to spend the time to look at some scenes as well. So don't you worry. We're gonna keep going until we've at least looked at a couple, if not more, of your Discord. Here we go in 3, 2, 1.
And set. And action. Okay.
Oh, what?
Uh-huh.
Oh, come on, what was that?
That's called the crossover.
The crossover?
Yeah.
That is not in the rules.
No, that is in the rules.
Oh. Okay.
All right.
Oh, okay.
All right.
You know
There.
what? This is business now.
Come on, bring it.
All right. Boxers or briefs? Gotcha.
Boxers. Fuck.
Dogs or cats?
Oh, dogs. Okay. Oh, shit.
Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi.
Gotcha.
Fuck.
Okay, peanut butter? Smooth or crunchy?
Crunchy.
Gotcha.
Gee,
Gotcha.
mother.
Gotcha.
Fuck. Oh, fuck. Too fucking good for me.
Thomas.
So good. Oh, you know what?
What?
I prefer if you call me Tomahawk.
Oh. Oh, really? Okay, Mr. Tomahawk. Look, I think you're very cute,
Oh, you do?
but
That's great. But cute. Cute is not the word that I would use to describe you.
I have a boyfriend.
Oh.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, you have
I have a wife.
wife.
I do.
Yeah.
I do, but there are other options. Yeah? We could just we could pretend that didn't exist. Or we could just be in the present moment.
But let's not.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, listen, if it's kisses you want, the models for tomorrow's shoot, they're gonna be there.
Wait, just not even a little kiss?
No, I don't think that's such a good idea.
Wait, you're fucking with me, right?
No.
No?
No, I'm not.
Okay, but
Thomas.
you're on my bed.
You wanted to smoke a joint, remember?
Yeah?
It's quiet. This just keeps going, no audio, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting. Alright, cool. I thought it was interesting that the shot, that this is how the scene ended, that now he's actually smoking the joint. I think that's a good idea, actually. He gets something out of it, which is not what he wants. Looks unhappy about it too. So that's good. But yeah, audio is a big one on this one.
Yeah. And I don't know if everybody noticed, but maybe when you use speakers, maybe you don't notice, but when you use earphones, at the beginning, you can hear the guy saying action.
Yeah.
Or set action. Like, come on. Those are things that need to be taken out.
Definitely. Cut it so that it's ready to be screened in a theater. That's how you want to show scenes to your director. So I also felt there were some claps that are out of sync, like when they're smacking their hands. Some of these claps seem to not match up to the movement. Inconsistent levels, sometimes super loud, super quiet. The background noise, you hear a lot of hissing and hums, a lot of body microphone issues, like they're moving and you can hear the ruffling of the lavalier mic. All that stuff you should like clean out, just go down and then have a really consistent, nice sounding room tone, so that if you do drop out, you still hear. Every room has a sound. It's never dead. Like at the end, it was just dead. There was no room sound, and it just doesn't feel. It pulls you out of the movie. It doesn't feel real at that point. You're aware you're watching a scene. Audio holds, audio dropouts. You have to smooth out, put some ambient in there or room tone. That's a big one. And then immediately you're worried. Like when you're watching a scene like this, you're like, I would get nervous as a director. Like, oh my God, is this scene not working? What did I do wrong? How do you feel about the grade, the color?
The grade was a bit reddish, right?
Yeah.
Like too saturated a bit.
Yeah, it's a little too much. I'm not an expert in color grading, but even if you put some form of color onto a scene, see if you can save the skin tones in a way. Like find a way how their skin still sort of. I'm looking at my skin tone. I look completely pinkish. That's not a good skin tone. But have a natural looking, like Dennis looks much better. Skin tone in there, and when you look at their face, it's all just one mush of the same color. That's I don't know. I mean, there should be some some contrast between certain things. Like you can have an overall mood of it feels red, which means danger or something, but we need to, there needs to be more definition, more range in the color. Cool. Morgan, give us a little update on the chat room. How are people responding to this scene or have general questions?
Well, Sam just said that it doesn't look graded at all, so
Okay.
maybe the footage looked like that at first, but definitely the skin tone is a big one. And also about sound, I just wanted to add that in some scenes I've seen, the sound is in stereo mode,
Yeah.
and it's, I mean, from what I've learned and from like listening, it's better to have it in mono
Mm-hmm.
because like it's less disturbing and definitely like something that is usually done.
So it should be mono center panned, not on the
Um,
left, not
yeah.
on the right.
Unless it's like a very wide shot, but even that I think I've always been told to have it
Yeah.
in mono. So
Yeah,
I don't know if you agree with that, but
I do. And sometimes you also need to be aware of turning off mics when one person is speaking. Sometimes there's like this little double up where you hear it almost has like a metallic sound sometimes. And so make sure when somebody's speaking, all the other mics are turned off, and not the. Now I'm really aware of my color, my skin color. Okay, cool.
just one question from Hayden,
Yeah.
who asked like how to best optimize your like the dialogue and the music in a scene
Yeah.
using like the EQ, notching, and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I'm not an expert on this. I'm aware of the concept where you notch out in the music certain frequencies, and I have to look up, but I want to say it's like 2500 is the frequency, roundabout. Not sure. Maybe somebody who has a better take on this can correct me in the chat room. So you can just lower the music frequency there by a few dBs, 10 dBs or so, and then your voice will pop more, or it will stand up against the music better. It doesn't compete as much. If you really need a scene where the music is pumping, like you're in a club, that's a trick you can use. What I usually do is I have certain audio plugins that I just throw on the music and throw on the voice that sort of like makes a voice really popping and does some basic equalization, normalization, and make sure that it like the foundation is really strong of a voice, and the same with the music. Do you have a better answer to this, Morgan?
No, like I agree, and like it's just like a very important thing, and you've made videos about that. That sound is like a big part of the edit, and even though you're like maybe not a sound editor, it's still important that you do some work on sound, just because it would give the scene a lot more like a nicer aspect, and like make your edit actually look better.
You get less notes if you have
Yeah.
smoother sound. Less actually picture notes.
People would focus on sound if it's not good enough.
Yeah. All right, let's
Yeah.
take a look at some scenes in the Discord.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see what we have. How many submissions did we get?
Like three?
Three. Okay, good. So we're gonna
Good.
try and get them all done. So I'll put the first one up. Dennis, what's your take on audio while I set this up?
It's the 80% of your perception, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to focus on the story if the audio is not working fine. And it's I mean, a lot of people say I'm not an expert, should I focus more on the story than the sound? But everything, I mean, you don't need to make it pitch perfect, but you need to make it presentable, because otherwise, like I said, it's difficult to concentrate, and people pick up audio issues very easily. But it's the same, like you said, Morgan too.
Awesome.
There are very basic things you can do, and just experiment.
Very good, very good. All right, I set up one. I gotta do the other one. So next time I'll have like a different setup for Vimeo, so I don't have to change these up. Vimeo's okay. It looks really great. I don't like that you buffer a lot on Vimeo when you play stuff. There's a lot more buffering going on. Alright, so this is a scene that comes from the Discord from Steven. We're going to take a look at it and then we're going to give you some impromptu feedback. Very exciting. Here we go.
Sorry, from whom?
Steven. It's the first one in the Discord group. The first
In the office hour live?
Yeah. I just see it on his YouTube channel. He's got his name up there.
The first one I see is from Grendel.
Yeah, that's Steven.
Ah, okay.
Sorry, we just outed you. Okay, here we go. In 3, 2...
Oh, oh, come on. Oh, you can't do that. That's not in the rules.
No, you can do that.
That's
That's
not in
called
the rules.
That's the crossover.
The crossover?
Yeah, it's the crossover.
Ah, my turn.
Fuck.
All right. Okay, this means war, buddy.
All right, come on.
Okay, shit's
Bring
getting
it.
serious.
Bring it.
Oh, okay. I see what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, shit, you're good at this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I see where this is going. Okay,
Okay.
bit of distraction.
Okay,
Ready?
I'm ready.
Boxers or briefs? Gotcha.
Boxers. Fuck.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs. Shit.
Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi, motherfucker.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Okay, peanut butter, smooth or crunchy?
Crunchy.
Oh, fuck!
Fuck. God. You were way too good for me.
Look, I think you're very cute,
Oh, you do.
but
That's great. But, you know, cute? Cute is not the word that I would use to describe you.
I have a boyfriend.
Oh.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, you have
I have a wife. I do.
Yeah.
I do, but there are other options. We could pretend that didn't exist. Or we could just be in the present moment.
Let's not.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, okay. I'm sorry, did I do something?
That was fine.
Okay.
We're good. We're good.
Not even just a little kiss?
No, I don't think that's such a good idea.
But you're on my bed.
We wanted to smoke a joint, remember?
Okay, awesome. Alright, good stuff. This is a really good example to talk about some things. Hello, where are we? Here we are. So, Dennis, initial reaction from you.
First thing I noticed, and maybe you noticed because you're wearing headphones, is that the music was playing on my right, and the what is it? The voices of them were playing on my left, so it was pretty distracted. I'm sorry. It's again the same topic we were talking before.
Yeah, music should be stereo. Dialogue should be center panned, so we hear it on both speakers.
Yeah, and it was kind of disturbing me the whole time. And regarding the story, I mean, it was well cut. The grading, I liked it because it was minimal, and like you said, it was basic, just the basic thing you need, right? It was nice grading.
It was an elegant edit. I would agree with you.
Yeah, it was nicely done. The flow went very nice. Towards the end, I felt so bad about Thomas because he was so lame. Like he was insisting. I don't know if that's okay to. It's just the choice, right? Playing the story. Like he was like insisting. Like cut it out. Like have some dignity. But I like the scene. Yeah, it has these audio issues. But,
I had a harder problem with the scene. I felt like none of the story turns were emphasized in the scene in a way that I noticed them. Like it felt like a continuous flow of conversation. If you're not feeling the story turns, it's hard to stay engaged. I was like this for me. I almost had the zone out effect, where I'm like, just had a hard time paying attention. I think it's because of the music and how it just keeps on playing. There's no change in the music that changes with the dynamics in the scene. So for example, when they stopped playing and he starts hitting on her, maybe the music needs to stop. Like you design your sound bed in a way that there's a turn in the music and a new music starts. Something like this, so that the audience realizes, oh, there's a change going on in that relationship. We just went from this status here where they're playfully playing to, oh, he's now indicating to her that he wants to get it on, and now we'll feel as change of status, threat, whatever it is, intimidation or romance, whatever it could be. And so the scene definitely has like 3 or 4 story turns that I did not feel in this version of this edit. So even though this is cut very elegantly, I think the use of music and that the music was so dominant, it didn't feel like it's in the room, it felt like it's so present, made it hard for me to pay attention.
Yeah. No dynamic, right? That's what you meant?
No dynamic.
No tension there.
No story turns that I really could feel. That's your job as an editor, to really hang a lantern on story turns and make sure the audience lives through those. But elegant edit. Cool. Let's do one more. We're gonna try and just go through these. The next one I have here is from Sam. And while I set this up, Morgan, any notes in the chat room?
About the scene, not really, not this one.
Okay, any other?
Just like Claudio said that he actually heard the sound in the middle,
Okay.
not pound. But I have to say that I also heard it, like the music on the right and dialogue on the left, which was very strange.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, maybe there's a little bit on the left, but it's dominant on the right. That's what I experienced. Okay, here we go. This is the next one. Playing in 3, 2, 1.
Excuse me.
Hey!
Are you the girl?
The famous actress?
Yeah.
Yeah.
From
Oh my god, warm bodies, zombie. Yeah. Yeah, it was good.
I'm Thomas Cooper. I think I'm meant to shoot you next weekend.
Yeah. Well, hello.
Hi.
Thomas Cooper, famous fashion photographer. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah.
I'm a really big fan of yours.
That's funny, I'm a big fan of yours too. You're a lot cuter than I thought you were gonna be.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what? I think I'm gonna marry you one day.
Yeah.
Will you kiss me then?
Okay. Better.
When we're out in the moonlight, looking up at the stars above.
Oh! Oh, come on. Oh! Oh! Come on, what was that?
It's called the crossover.
Crossover?
It's
Are
very
you
much-
fucking
it-
serious?
Yes, it's very much the
Oh,
rules.
come on! I don't
No,
know.
I skimmed you.
You skimmed?
I skimmed
I
you.
don't know.
I skimmed you.
Ah! My turn.
Fuck.
Alright, okay.
Come on, bring it.
Yeah, okay.
Bring it.
I'm bringing out the big guns.
Let's go.
Are you focused?
I'm focused.
Fuck.
Ah, fuck. Okay.
Oh.
See? Huh? I'm in
Okay.
the zone. I'm in the zone.
You're in the zone.
I'm in-
Okay, I see where this is going. Okay,
Okay.
bit of distraction.
Okay.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Boxers or briefs? Gotcha.
Boxers. Fuck.
Dogs or cats?
Oh, dogs. Okay.
Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi,
See,
motherfucker.
too slow, too slow.
Okay.
Okay, I got a good one.
Uh-huh.
Okay, peanut butter, smooth or crunchy?
Crunchy,
Gotcha.
Oh, fuck.
All right, I'm gonna stop it here because I think we're having a sync issue with how this is playing back. So you're probably hearing the audio delayed, but I think there's a couple of things we can talk about, and then we'll try one more time to play a scene, and hopefully it'll be in sync. Right now, as I'm talking, do I come across as in sync, or do I also sound like I'm out of sync? That would give us an indication as well if maybe the stream is lagging. So what I noticed in this scene again is with the audio, it's low, the dialogue is on the left, the music is on the right, so we kind of have the same situation here. Make sure your dialogue is really present and on the center. We talked about it, and the music is sort of dropping more in the background, but it played a little bit better here. We saw the flashback, some interesting ideas how to transition into the flashback. I don't know if I'm fully in love with it, because like as you're transitioning out of the flashback into this scene, the bedroom scene, I see the black bar on the right side as you're zooming across the shot of him smoking the weed, so that pulls me out. I'm aware, okay, you're doing a digital zoom and pan over there. I don't know if I love the way that you dissolve. Like it has like some effects. It's almost like Wayne's World type. Not sure if this is the type of movie where that kind of dissolve would work. It depends a little bit how you see it. There's also a cultural way of working with these kinds of story devices. I would say for me, I wouldn't use that type of dissolve probably ever in my life. But then you use another, like a classic dissolve later. I'm still not a huge fan, but it works for me a little bit better. Dennis, any thoughts on your end?
Yeah, I was thinking that I'm not entirely sure if, I mean, this guy is in there with a target, right?
Yeah.
To get into her, and I'm not really sure if he will be thinking about his wife and happy moments with his wife. Well, he's probably thinking about how to seduce her, right? So I'm not really sure if this flashback fits right in this part.
True.
I mean, thinking as a guy, I'm thinking that probably I will be thinking about Nadja, right? And if we judge also by the previous scene, which is the phone call, he doesn't want to do anything with his wife, right? He wants to. He's looking forward for this moment. I don't think he will be thinking about happy moments with his wife in the bar. But that's me.
It's an interesting question. I mean, we have to see sort of the bigger context of all the scenes together to see if the transition, if this is the moment to do the flashback.
Yeah.
But to be honest, it was hard for me to even think about these kinds of questions because I was more focused on audio stuff.
Mhm. Yeah.
Which is like that's how it is. Like when you're in a screening and you're watching a scene and the audio is so like distracting, then it's hard to think about story in itself. And I was distracted because I noticed it seemed to play out of sync as well. So it might not be totally your fault, submitter of the scene. We're gonna try one more scene, see if we can get this in sync, and hopefully it'll work. And then we'll wrap up this office hour. I'm gonna give you a little bit of an outlook on what's coming next in office hour number 3. But first, we'll play the scene in 3, 2.
Oh, ah!
Oh, the
What?
cross-
You can't do that.
Yes, I can.
That is not in the rules.
No, it's
What?
called a crossover.
A crossover?
Yes,
Are
very
you
much.
fucking serious?
Yes, it's very much.
So the one
Oh.
from
Ah! My turn.
Fuck!
Alright. Okay, this means war, buddy.
All right, come
Okay. It's getting serious.
on. Okay,
Ready?
I'm ready.
Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi,
See,
motherfucker.
too slow, too slow.
Okay, okay.
Okay, here I got a good one.
Uh huh.
Peanut butter, yeah?
Yeah.
Smooth or crunchy?
Crunchy,
Gotcha,
mother.
gotcha.
Oh, ah! You were way too good for me.
Come on, Thomas. I have a boyfriend. And yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, you have
I have a wife. I do, but
Alright, it seems like we're still having issues with the sync. So it's not fair to really judge the scene if we can't really play it back in its full glory. So I think, thank God we were able to play a bunch of scenes that worked. But we'll stop it here. With the feedback for Module 2, I think there's some really basic things that you can take away from it, which is make sure your audio is good, screen it in a way that it plays like if you were screening it in a theater. It's got to sound like it's the finished product. If it's just like kind of finished but not, it's gonna play as if it's finished. And then if it has problems in the audio, it's gonna immediately give you notes to address that might not have to do with the actual story of it. Good.
I would say use earphones also, headphones, so you really notice everything, the small details and things like that of the left and right, how it plays.
Yeah.
Earphones is a really good tool to.
Yeah, what I usually do is I
Nice.
cut the scene just based on my studio speakers, but then before I output the final version, I play it back in my headphones, and I look at
Yeah.
the levels, make sure the levels hit all the sort of formal marks that they need to, and I just listen to it in the because you hear the music will sound louder in your speakers against the dialogue than in real life. And then maybe also play it on an iPhone or a laptop and see what it sounds like when you don't have perfect audio conditions. And you kind of have to like develop a feel what's a good compromise. But the audio, the dialogue has to be present. That's so important. It immediately steps up your game if you have present audio. Final thoughts in the chat room, Morgan?
No.
Oh.
Just the music. They said that it was the same as the other scene,
Yes.
which was like kind of repetitive, and
Yes.
it makes it more slow. So yeah,
Yeah.
was one comment.
And somebody also said that it's like in the script there was a specific music reference
Yeah.
that was used, and that's why you're using it. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate the music, and you can use it if it's in the script. I don't necessarily, at that point, are aware of it when I cut the scenes, because usually I don't read the script at that point anymore. I read the script at the beginning of production, and then I only look at the script when I have questions. I don't read the script as I'm cutting the scene, but that's just me. And then I would immediately probably go to a different piece of music, something that I'm interested in. But yeah, good stuff. Module 3 will be in Office Hour 3 in about a month. Maybe we'll take 6 weeks because it feels like people are still like in the earlier stages of the course. I really want to encourage you to keep working on it. It's really up to you to do the work. We're going to try and find ways to increase engagement and get you results. Some people need a little bit more guidance, a little bit more help, but ultimately go-to editors are go-to editors because they are very disciplined, they're self-initiating, they take action, and clients hire editors that take actions and solve problems and are ahead of the project so that they don't have to worry, because clients usually just want to go home early, and if they hire the right editor, that means they can go home early and worry about other stuff. So if you aspire to be a go-to editor, you have to take action, and we'll encourage you to do so, but ultimately it's up to you. Module 3 will be all about personal branding. We're going to talk about why it's so important to present yourself in the right way, to come prepared in a way how you make the client feel like they're number one. It's about them. We're going to talk about networking tips, how you can approach a person that you haven't met before in a networking environment, at a screening, at a panel. What's the first line you should be saying when you approach somebody to immediately put them at ease and open up a conversation, something that really can help you, and it's super simple. That's the kind of stuff we're going to be talking about in Module 3. Thank you so much for sticking through this. It is 10:36. We did an hour and a half. I do appreciate you taking the course. Let us know in the Discord groups if you have any other questions. And thank you, and have a great day. Cheers.
Awesome.
Thanks, Morgan, and thanks, Dennis.
Anytime.
Take care,
Cheers.
man. Bye-bye.